and indeed human flesh. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 268, TIPIṭAKA, part 177, Mahāvagga VI, part 12, in which I will continue reading Mahāvagga VI. I usually try not to peek ahead, but I did kind of accidentally when I was looking at where we're going to be reading today, peek ahead, and I think it's safe to say that we'll be finishing Mahāvagga VI today. So, there it is. All right, well, I suppose without further ado, I can get started with the reading. So Mahāvagga VI, I think most of the people watching are aware of what we're doing, but for anyone who may have stumbled upon this video, Mahāvagga means the Great Division, and it's part of the discipline basket. The three baskets of pre-sectarian early Buddhism are called TIPIṭAKA in the original Pali, more commonly known as Tripitaka, which is the Sanskrit. They're the original Buddhist Scriptures, and so this one is about rules of order, and there you go. So if you would like to start at the beginning of the Mahāvagga, you can click right there. And if you would like to start at the beginning of the TIPIṭAKA and hear me 2 years ago start reading the rules for monks, followed by the rules for nuns, and then eventually arriving at Mahāvagga, then you can click right here for the TIPIṭAKA. Okay. Picking up right where we left off last time. Then the Lord, having stayed in Kusinara for as long as he found suiting, set out on tour for Attuma, together with the large order of monks, with the 1,250 monks. Now at that time, a certain person, end parentheses, best kind of person, formerly a barber, who had gone forth when old, was living in Attuna. He had 2 boys, sweet-voiced, intelligent, skilled, accomplished in their craft, in the barber's profession, parentheses, as learnt from, end parentheses, their own teachers. Then that parentheses man, end parentheses, who had gone forth when old, heard, quote, "They say that the Lord is coming to Attuma, together with a large order of monks, with 1,250 monks." End quote. Then that parentheses man, end parentheses, who had gone forth when old, spoke thus to his boys, quote, "It is said, my dears, that the Lord is coming to Attuma, together with a large order of monks, with 1,250 monks. Do you go, my dears? And taking a barber's equipment, tour from house to house for nali, measures of offerings, and collect salt and oil, and husked rice and solid food, and when the Lord comes, we will make him a congee drink." End quote. Quote, "Very well, father." End quote. And these boys, having answered him, who had gone forth when old in assent, taking a barber's equipment, toured from house to house for nali measures of offerings, collecting salt and oil and husked rice and solid food. Those people who, having seen these sweet-voiced, intelligent boys, but had not wanted to have offerings and made, even they had them made, and having had them made, also gave much. So these boys collected much salt and oil, and husked rice and solid food. Then the Lord, walking on tour, in due course arrived at Atuma. The Lord stayed there in Atuma, in the house with the threshing floor. Then he who had gone forth when old, having had a quantity of congee prepared towards the end of that night, brought it to the Lord, saying, quote, Lord, may the Lord accept congee from me. Now, truth finders, sometimes, and ask knowing, and knowing, sometimes, and do not ask. They ask knowing the right time, to ask, and they do not ask knowing the right time, when not to ask, Truth finders ask about what belongs to the goal, not about what does not belong to the goal. There is bridge breaking for truth finders in whatever does not belong to the goal. Awakened ones, lords, question monks concerning two matters, either, quote, shall we preach Dhamma, end quote, or, quote, shall we lay down a rule of training for disciples, end quote. Then the Lord spoke thus to him who had gone forth when old, quote, where is this congee from, monk, end quote. Then he who had gone forth when old told this matter to the Lord. The awakened one, the Lord, rebuked him, saying, quote, it is not suitable, foolish man. It is not fitting. It is not becoming. It is not worthy of a recluse. It is not allowable. It is not to be done. For how can you, foolish man, one who has gone forth, cause, others, to take what is not allowable? It is not, foolish man, for pleasing those who are not, yet, pleased, 4 dots, end quote. So those 4 dots, of course, indicate the Polytext Society. Thank you, Polytext Society, are letting us know that Lord Buddha had said something very similar to this at some point in this book or in one of these books, and that we should go find it and copy-paste it here. It's a little inconvenient, if you ask me, but it's just my humble opinion. And having rebuked him, having given reasoned talk, he addressed the monks, saying, quote, monks, one who has gone forth should not make others, take what is not allowable. Whoever should make others, take these things, there is an offense of wrongdoing. Nor, monks, should one who was formerly a barber carry about a barber's equipment. Whoever should carry it about, there is an offense of wrongdoing. End quote. Strict sometimes. Then the Lord, having stayed at Atuma for as long as he found suiting, set out on tour for Savatthi. In due course, walking on tour, he arrived at Savatthi. The Lord stayed there at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Vinaya Piṭaka's monastery. Now at that time there was a great quantity of solid food that was fruit at Savatthi. Then it occurred to monks, quote, "Now what solid food that is fruit is allowed by the Lord? What is not allowed?" And quote, they told this matter to the Lord. He said, quote, "I allow, monks, all solid food that is fruit." End quote. Now at that time seeds belonging to an order were sown on ground belonging to an individual, and seeds belonging to an individual were sown on ground belonging to an order. They told this matter to the Lord. He said, quote, "When monks' seeds belonging to an order are sown on ground belonging to an individual, having given back a portion, parentheses, the rest, and parentheses, may be made use of. When seeds belonging to an individual are sown on ground belonging to an order, having given back a portion, parentheses, the rest, and parentheses, may be made use of." End quote. Now at that time scruples arose in the monks as to this and that occasion, thinking, quote, "Now what is permitted by the Lord? What is not permitted?" End quote. They told this matter to the Lord. He said, quote, "Whatever, monks, has not been objected to by me, saying, quote, within quotes, this is not allowable, end quote, within quotes, if it fits in with what is not allowable, if it goes against what is allowable, that is not allowable to you. Whatever, monks, has not been objected to by me, saying, quote, within quotes, this is not allowable, end quote, within quotes, if it fits in with what is allowable, if it goes against what is not allowable, that is allowable to you. And whatever, monks, has not been permitted by me, saying, quote within quotes, this is allowable, end quote within quotes, if it fits in with what is not allowable, if it goes against what is allowable, that is not allowable to you. Whatever, monks, has not been permitted by me, saying, quote within quotes, this is allowable, end quote within quotes, if it fits in with what is allowable, if it goes against what is not allowable, that is allowable to you. End quote. Letting them figure it out on their own sounds risky. Might end up with 14 different factions of Theravadan Buddhism. Anyway, then it occurred to monks, quote, "Now is, parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during a watch of the night allowable, with parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during a short period, or it is not allowable. Now is, parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during 7 days allowable, with parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during a short period, or is it not allowable? Now is, parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during life allowable, with parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during a short period, or is it not allowable? Now, is, parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during a watch of the night, or what? During 7 days allowable, with parentheses, food that may be eaten, and parentheses, during a watch of the night, or is it not allowable? Now, is, parentheses, parentheses, food that may be eaten, What are we doing? Now, is parentheses food that may be eaten and parentheses during life allowable with parentheses food that may be eaten and parentheses during a watch of the night, or is it not allowable? Now, is parentheses food that may be eaten and parentheses during life allowable with parentheses food that may be eaten and parentheses during 7 days, or is it not allowable? End quote. They told this matter to the Lord. He said, quote, monks, parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during a watch of the night with parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during a short period is allowable at the right time, on the day it is accepted. It is not allowable at the wrong time. Monks, parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during 7 days with parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during a short period is allowable at the right time on the day it is accepted. It is not allowable at the wrong time. Monks, parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during life with parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during a short period is allowable at the right time on the day it is accepted. It is not allowable at the wrong time. Monks, parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during 7 days with parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during a watch of the night is allowable in a watch of the night on the day it is accepted. It is not allowable after the watch of the night is ended. Monks, parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during life with parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during a watch of the night is allowable in a watch of the night on the day it is accepted. It is not allowable after the watch of the night is ended. Anyone else think, and now my watch has ended? Game of Thrones. Am I the only one? Monks, parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during life with parentheses food that may be eaten, end parentheses, during 7 days is allowable for parentheses the length of, end parentheses, 7 days. It is not allowable after the 7 days are ended. The section on medicines, the 6th. Oh, this has been the section on medicines. They give you the title at the end. This is a different millennium. These days, you get to know the title at the beginning. Okay, so this next part is the key. The key, for those who haven't heard one before, is basically when they're memorizing, okay, so we've been reading this for days, we've been reading this for a few weeks, this Mahāvagga VI, right, for 12 episodes, 12 presumably half-hour long episodes. So for the last 6 hours, let's say, we've been reading this group of rules. So in order to have a Cliff Notes, like a shortened version, just of a phrase, a word or phrase for each rule, they memorize this thing that sounds like gibberish. So it's a little bit fun for anyone who's watched the past 12 episodes. Some of it might recall, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that rule. Otherwise, it'll be like, what? So it's fun in its own way, if you like this sort of thing. So here we go. In this section, the items are 106 items. This is its key. In the autumn, also at the wrong time, tallow, roots, parentheses they had need of, and parentheses what was pounded off. Of astringent decoctions, leaves, fruits, resin, salt, and dung. Chonum, sifter, and flesh, ointment, powder, ointment marks, all kinds, not covered. Sticks, case for sticks, a bag, strap at the edge, thread, oil for the head, and the nose, nose spoon, and steam, a pipe and a lid, a bag, decoction of oil and strong drink, too much, an ointment, a vessel, sweating, and all kinds of herbs, all kinds. Thereupon the great parentheses sweating, and parentheses hemp water, water vat and blood, a horn, foot unguent, unguent, or something, unguent, ungent, unguent, foot salve, lancet, and astringent, parentheses, water, and parentheses, sesamum paste, a compress, piece of cloth, and mustard powder, fumigation, and crystal, oil for the sore, linen bandage, and the irregular things, and what is parentheses formally and parentheses received, a parentheses decoction of and parentheses dung, in making, and mud turned up by the plow, lye, urine, and yellow myrobalan, perfumes, and a purgative, clarified, unprepared, prepared, unprepared, prepared, unprepared. Right. Meat broth, parentheses, mountain hyphen, and parentheses, slope, monastery attendant, and for 7 days, sugar, kidney bean, sour gruel, cooking for oneself. One may cook again. He allowed it, however, short of alms food and fruit, sesamum, solid food, before a meal, fever, and discharged an ulcer. And clyster treatment, and the supi, parentheses, ya, and parentheses. And indeed, human flesh, elephants, horses, and a dog, a snake, lion, tiger, leopard, and the flesh of bears, parentheses, and parentheses, hyenas, and a tern, and kanji, a certain one who was young, sugar, sunidha, rest house, and ambapali, the lichavis, the Ganges, or Ganga if you're speaking, the koti, parentheses, gamma, and parentheses, talk on truths, killed on purpose. He objected when, parentheses, they were, and parentheses, well off again for food. A cloud, yasoja, and mendaka, products of the cow, and provisions for a journey. Kenny, parentheses, ya, and parentheses, mango, rose apple, plantain, banana, honey, grape, edible lotus root, farusakas, vegetables, flour, the barber at Atuma, we read that today, fruit and seed at Savati, and on what occasion, as to the right time. And we have finished with Mahāvagga VI. Next time on Buddhist Books Podcast, we'll have a Zen episode. It's official. The last Zen episode was a little dull. It was like kind of a rules thing. It was something that was added to Shobogenzo 500 years later that originally in the 1200s was kind of a separate thing. It was like a rules for, conduct of behavior of the monks in the meditation hall, which I imagine kind of as being like the rules for the pool, like no going in the pool after 8 p.m., no drinking in the pool, that kind of thing, like it's kind of up next to. So originally it wasn't considered part of the teachings of Zen, and then 500 years later they included it. So that was what we read last time, and I peeked ahead, and I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I remember going, oh, good, because I've read Shobogenzo before, and I read it twice before, and I love it, so I like sharing it here on Buddhist Books Podcast. So, because we've just ended Mahāvagga VI, rather than immediately going into Mahāvagga VII, next time we'll do a Zen episode for Buddhist Books Part 269. And then, of course, is Buddhist Books Part 270. And since that is divisible by 10, since it ends with a 0, that means it'll be the life and liberation of Padmasambhava. So, we'll take a little break from pre-sectarian early Buddhism for the next 2 episodes, and we'll go with some Zen and some Tibetan Vajrayana. And then when we get to Buddhist Books 271, we'll be back to pre-sectarian early Buddhism. So, there it is. There you have it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. And it's always fun when there's a key, because it's sort of like, I don't know, random poetry or something, gibberish poetry. But anyhow, okay, I suppose that's it. This Potala incense is very good. I'll go ahead and do the usual closing, and thank you for joining me for, Pymander Aquarian number 924. In other words, the 924th video on this playlist. You can check that out if you'd like. I have other channels. So this is the 268th video of Buddhist Books Podcast, but it's the 924th video that I've made and put up on YouTube somewhere that I didn't delete or leave off the list because of one reason or another. In other words, there's a lot more than 924, but those are the 924 that I'm willing to share with you. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the closing now. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.